Good morning, St. John's. My name is Matthew Cowperthwait, and I have the honor and privilege of serving as the president of the Board of Trustees this year. Over the last year and a half, we've endeavored to create the tradition of having a board minute, a chance for the board to give the congregation a brief update on what we're doing. Despite everything that has happened and the changes that have been forced to occur over the last month due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this is a tradition we intend to try and do our best to keep, although this month it may be a bit more of a board 5 minutes. The last month has certainly been a tumultuous one, and I don't know of anyone in my life who has not been impacted in some way, whether it's financially with the loss of income, physically with concerns over being impacted by the virus, or emotionally and spiritually with the loss of connections. The last month has been hard for everyone. During that time, your board has been as busy as ever, and our priorities have understandably shifted. We have been continuing to meet twice a month, using virtual meetings in addition to emails and phone calls. Unfortunately, it is sometimes to get lost in the work that needs to be done and forget that there's still many people who might not be aware of what's going on in the church at this time. Obviously, the board made the decision to close the physical facilities of the church in a special meeting on March 11th, a decision that was not made lightly. One of the first commitments we wanted to make during that time was to our staff. We felt it was important for 2 reasons. First, that as part of our community, we wanted to ensure that we were doing our part to take care of them. Secondly, from a more practical standpoint, we felt that it was important that if we wanted them to be there for us as the church reopened, we needed to be there for them during this time of crisis. This is only possible because we are in the fortunate position to be still receiving pledges and have budgeted their salaries. The board has also been very busy understanding our finances during this time and the impact of the loss of plate donations, rental incomes, and other financial uncertainties have had on us, for not only the remainder of this church year, but for next year as well. We are finding ways to trim our existing budget further and put other projects on hold. However, during this time of crisis, we have also been asking how we can still be using our financial assets to aid those in crisis in the community. We are still planning to hold our budget reviews for next year as planned with the wider St. John's community, even though we will be doing this online and it will be a little bit different than years past. Continuing on the topic of budget, we know that staffing constitutes a major portion of our expenses. From this, the board has been looking into the CARES Act that was recently passed and believe pursuing money through the Paycheck Protection Program makes sense for the church. You should have seen an email from me on the topic recently, calling for an online congregational meeting to discuss and vote on this. I hope you'll be able to attend and engage with us in the democratic process on this important topic. Our final budget-related item is that of our pledges. We know for a fact that many members and friends of St. John's have been affected by our recent economic turmoil. However, in the event that you have not been, we ask that you consider continuing your pledge, or even further, increasing it during this time of difficulty. We've additionally had members engaged in finding ways to help give virtually during this time. One of those ways is now with an app called Give Plus, which is literally the word give with the plus symbol next to it. If this interests you, you will be asked to put in the church's zip code of 45220, and the app will guide you through the rest of the process. You'll have several options for how you'd like to make payments, whether online or recurring. Lastly, the board has been looking to the future. We are as eager as anyone to be able to see our friends and fellow congregants, but we want to additionally ensure we are doing so safely. We've been continuing to monitor the latest news published by regional departments of health, as well as the CDC for guidance. We're looking for ways when we do reopen the facilities to ensure we're following hygienic best practices throughout the church. In the interim, we intend to continue to do our best to support St. John's in this new normal. We still intend to move forward with our annual congregational meeting, even if it means holding it online. We'll be holding elections for next year as well. We are blessed with a community that has actively looked for and found new ways to engage with one another digitally and to support the community at large in times of crisis. Finally, what gives me the most hope for the future is the spirit of this church. When faced with this crisis, the 2 questions I saw asked the most were how were we taking care of one another and our staff, and how could we help with the community? Because of that, I am confident St. John's will make it through this crisis. Thank you for your continued support of the church.